Chapter 2 Halfway Gone. Korra. Deep down, in the corners of her heart that she never let anyone see, Korra knew she shouldn't be alive. She should have died on that rock in the mountains, twisted and broken while the poison ravaged her insides. There had been a moment, as her father's face flashed before her and darkness crept in from the edges of the world, when Korra felt that she could leave the Avatar state. She could have let the power fade, slipped into the dark, and passed the torch to someone else. Someone she knew would be better, no matter who they were. She should have died in that fissure, hopeless and helpless as her uncle crushed her between the icy crags. If she had, Rava might have escaped to her next avatar, and Korra could have preserved the legacy of 1,000 lifetimes of wisdom she had been trusted to protect. She should have died below that cliff, her body shattered on the ice and swallowed by the sea, never giving herself another chance to let everyone else down again and again and again. She never should have given Aang the chance to feed her false hopes that she was anything other than a mistake, a shameful blink in the long history of all the avatars before and after her. It would have been better for everyone. How much had her selfishness cost them all? How many future avatars would desperately need the wisdom of the past lives she had let slip away into the void? How many people might lose their lives, all because Korra couldn't let go of her own? She could have spared her friends and family so much stress and pain. She could have spared herself from being stuck in a bed for the rest of her life. She could have spared herself from having to live with the memories of being taken by the Red Lotus, of being in that cave, No, she was not thinking about that. Not now and not ever. Korra's jaw tightened. She had to think about something else, anything else. As if she had a right to forget. As if it wasn't her own fault. Korra glared at her dead, useless legs and hated them. Idiot, came a hiss from the shadows of her mind. Stupid, selfish idiot. There was nothing to do about it now. These days, all she could do was wait. Wait for the nightmares to end. Wait for the morning to come. Wait for her mom or Asami to change her sweat-stained clothes, feed her, brush her teeth and comb her hair, change her sheets and wash her fragile, broken body. All she could do was wait for a recovery that would never happen, going through the motions, at least as well as she could with what little range of motion she had left. A gentle knock at the door nearly scared her out of her skin, but she barely moved. Even stupid animalistic fear wasn't enough to jumpstart the half-dead shell her mind was stuck in. Who is it? Korra asked, raising her voice as much as she could. Whenever she didn't speak for a long time, the first words she spoke would always be all dry and scratchy, and she hated it.
Just me, honey.
Her mother's voice sounded from outside the closed door.
Just wanted to check and see if you needed anything.
Korra sighed. She never knew how to answer questions like that. She wasn't hungry. She didn't want anything to drink, because that would just mean more trips to the bathroom. And as far as that and other basic bodily needs were concerned, asking for help with those was more humiliating than it was worth. She had been lucky this morning, as Asami had been nearby when she woke up, and had offered to help with the more humiliating parts of her morning routine. It still sucked, obviously, but Asami being there, and proactively offering her assistance, rather than expecting Korra to shamefully ask for such help on her own, made the whole experience sting a little less. Still, it wasn't fair to give Mom nothing to work with. She needs to feel needed, Korra reflected. That was a feeling she knew all too well. With that in mind, she replied, "Could you help me sit up a little? I think I slid down the bed." Such sliding was inevitable, given that most of her time in bed was spent half sitting, half lying down, propped up against a stack of pillows behind her. Even as Korra saw her mom enter the room and smile at her, a cold, hollow bitterness settled in her stomach. I can't even sit up on my own. At best, she could shimmy back and forth, but she knew all she would have to show for the effort would be an inch or two of temporary progress, along with shoulders that hurt so bad that she would want to tear them off. The thought left her slouching even more. All right, here we go. Mom took gentle hold of Korra's midsection, well above the big scar on the left side of her waist, still smiling at her like any of this was normal. Let's scoot you up a bit. The next few minutes were a mix of shifting, pushing, pulling, and lifting. Korra held her breath for much of it, keeping her gaze fixed on the wall. She had learned early on that she needed to take the pain in stride. Back at the hospital, any sign of discomfort on her part would lead to her room being swarmed with healers and helpers, all insisting that she let them take care of her. It was easier to just suck it up and keep it to herself. When the process was done, her mother stepped away, watching her intently. Her smile remained, but something in the way she looked at Korra was different. Different, but not unfamiliar. Mom smiled, held her hand, and looked like she was about to cry. Korra couldn't meet her gaze. She knew, as hard as this was for her, that it was even harder for the people who loved her. She knew she was putting them through hell by just continuing to exist, inflicting herself on her family and her best friend, day after day, with no end in sight. Everyone was waiting for a miraculous recovery that they all knew would never come. They just kept smiling at her, encouraging her, as if things could ever go back to the way they were before. Before Zahir and the Red Lotus, before the poison and the chains, before the cave and... Don't think about it. Mom didn't know. No one else knew. And if no one else knew, and Korra didn't think about it, then it didn't happen. There was never anything to think about in the first place. Her feelings must have finally shown on her face, because Mom squeezed her hand and asked, "Is there anything else I can do for you, baby? Are you hungry? Thirsty? Are you in any pain? Is your back hurting?" It always hurts. The words escaped Korra without her even thinking, and with them, the first tears fell from her mother's eyes. Oh. Mom stepped back, wiping at her eyes, that piteous smile still etched on her face. "I can fetch Katara if you want." "No, thank you," Korra said. "I'll be okay." Mom nodded, wiped her eyes again, and turned to leave. Korra was silently grateful that she didn't push the issue any further. As her mother left the room, Korra heard her whisper, "I love you, Korra." With that, the door closed, and she was alone again. In the silence, familiar thoughts began to seep back in from every corner of the room, like poison into her veins. Korra closed her eyes, imagining herself slipping away into the dark. For a brief moment, she touched something like relief, until she heard the door open. A hinge shrieked in the silence, and suddenly she couldn't move, she couldn't breathe, and pain shot through her as the light on the ceiling swayed and blurred overhead. "Korra?" Her own pitiful yelp pulled her back to reality. The light dimmed, the pain faded to a dull ache, and she opened her eyes to see Asami staring at her from the doorway like she was the most pathetic thing on the planet. Asami took a step back. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." "Don't," Korra snapped, holding up a hand. When Asami deflated a little, she added, "Just, please don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong." Asami was silent for a moment, then nodded. "Okay." She exhaled softly, then crossed the room and sat on the edge of Korra's bed. As quickly as it had come, the look of pity from earlier was replaced by a soft, easy smile, and Korra was all the more grateful for it. "I saw Kaya today," Asami said. "She asked about you." "That was nice of her," Korra said, looking away. "She wanted me to remind you that she's free to talk, should you ever need it." Korra sighed, but fought the urge to roll her eyes, if only so Asami wouldn't blame herself for Korra's bad mood. Kaya's offer was kind, as were all the similar offers from Mom, Asami, and Katara, and once or twice from Dad, but there was no point in accepting them. There was nothing to talk about. "Oh, and I got you something at the market this morning," Asami said, breaking the silence. "Oh yeah?" Korra struggled to sit up a little more. "What'd you find?" "I'll tell you, but you gotta close your eyes first," Asami smirked. "Now, hold out your hands." Okay, fine." Korra could tell what Asami was doing. She was always trying to surprise Korra with playful little domestic moments here and there throughout the week. Most of them fell flat, through no fault of Asami's, of course, but Korra always humored her anyway. Even if everything was different now, for the moment, Asami wanted to pretend otherwise. The least Korra could do was play along, especially if it made Asami smile more. Holding out her hands, Korra took a deep breath, in and out, and closed her eyes. The things she saw in the dark of her mind rose like coiling snakes, seeking to paralyze her and pin her to the floor. But Korra took another breath, focusing on Asami's perfume that smelled like storm winds and summer rains, and the coils loosened. Asami was still here with her, and the dark things couldn't hurt her, not if she didn't let them. At least not right now. Ta-da! Korra felt something light being placed in her hands. She opened her eyes and was greeted with a little comb. It looked to be carved from whalebone and was painted a sleek blue with decorative carvings along its edge. "I hope I got a good one," Asami said, fidgeting where she sat at the edge of the bed. "I wanted to take your mom with me to help pick one out, but your dad went out early again, so she needed to stay home, and I really like it," Korra said. She gave Asami a smile, hoping it looked as genuine as it felt. "Thanks, Asami." "Yes! Intuition wins again." With a cute little clap, Asami looked at Korra expectantly. "Want to try it out? If not, that's okay. I just figured I'd ask since, Her voice softened and she looked away. "You have really pretty hair, that's all." A gentle smile tugged at Korra's lips. "Sure," she said. Do you need to get the wheelchair?" "If you want to," Asami said. She took the comb from Korra, still smiling at her. "We can do it in front of the mirror or right here if you'd prefer. Whatever's most comfortable for you." "Here, please," Korra said softly. For some reason, she couldn't meet Asami's gaze. "I really don't want to get out of bed, if that's okay." "Of course that's okay, dummy." Asami tapped her on the leg playfully. Korra decided not to spoil the mood by reminding Asami that she couldn't feel it. Asami left for a moment and came back with a chair, which she pulled up at Korra's bedside. Korra nodded for her to begin, and Asami set to work passing the comb through Korra's admittedly unkempt hair. She was slow and gentle, taking the time to untangle knots wherever she found them, rather than just pull them out the way Korra would. As sharp as the comb's teeth were, Asami never scratched or poked her with them even once. Every pass was measured and slow. Soon enough, Asami could pass the comb freely through Korra's hair in any direction without running into a single knot or tangle. Korra sighed, her eyes half-lidded. She leaned into the motions as Asami continued combing, content to just enjoy the feeling of it. When she felt herself press against Asami's shoulder, she almost flinched, but instead released a slow, heavy exhale and leaned in a little more. Asami gently placed an arm around her, and for a little while, the whole world was warmth and gentleness and summer rains. Her breaths came slower and slower. Korra hadn't slept well last night. She hadn't slept well at all the past 3 months, actually, and exhaustion took its chance to settle into her arms and shoulders. Her vision dimmed, the ever-present numbness in her fingers fell away, and she lay on the precipice of sleep, safe and steady and stable in Asami's embrace. Her eyes closed completely, and then it was night. Or at least it was later. When Korra opened her eyes, the light in her bedroom had been turned off, but the stars still shone in the sky outside, just as they did almost all hours of the day this time of year. Beside her, Asami sat in her chair, sound asleep with Korra still resting against her. In the dark, she listened to Asami breathe, in and out, each one so gentle. Everything Asami did was gentle, at least when she was around Korra. The way she talked to her, the way she smiled at her, the way she brushed her hair. Something cold tugged at Korra's heart, but it wasn't the darker things. It was something much worse, a distant, hopeless longing for a happiness she could never have. Asami's breathing faded into white noise, and Korra selfishly pressed into her warmth a little more, wishing she could do this every day, every night. Moments like this afternoon were sweet, and the dreamless sleep that followed was even sweeter, but they couldn't undo the damage Korra had already done to herself. Nothing could. Maybe if I'd been stronger. Maybe if I'd been better. Korra looked over her disgusting body and frowned. She couldn't be better or stronger. She couldn't be the Avatar. She couldn't be anything anymore. All she could do was wait for the days and weeks and months and years to pass her by until everyone finally realized that they should have left her behind a long time ago. Her thoughts again returned to that cliff by the ocean, to that fissure in the ice, to that rock in the mountains, to all the chances she'd had to pass the torch to an avatar who would actually be worthwhile. All the chances she'd had to spare her parents from spending the rest of their lives taking care of a useless, miserable cripple. All the chances she'd had to stop Asami from wasting her time and compassion on a lost cause. Despite all those chances, Korra was still here. Now it would be like this forever, and it was all her fault. Holding that bitter truth close to her heart, she painfully shifted her way out of Asami's slumbering embrace and stared spitefully at her dead, unfeeling legs. Idiot.